Howard Stern made this rapper cry when he eliminated him on America's Got Talent. When Howard Stern first became known, it was as an outrageous radio personality. He was known as a shock jock, and Stern seemed to enjoy offending as many people as possible. Whether it's his offensive jokes or the way he treated some of his guests, Stern's past still comes back to haunt him. Stern has since apologized to many of the celebrities he has spoken badly about in the past. He has also shown his softer side during his judging stint on America's Got Talent. Stern, however, threatened to quit the show after making a 7-year-old contestant cry during his audition. It was a glimpse into how much Stern has evolved since his early radio days. When 7-year-old rapper Mere Money hit the stage on America's Got Talent, he made quite an impression. He began his audition by telling Judge Howie Mandel that if he won, he would use the money to take care of his family. However, when the 7-year-old began rapping, fellow Judge Howard Stern got only a few seconds into the performance before hitting the decks. Mere Money began tearing up on stage. Then, it became clear that Stern felt bad, so he got on stage and spoke to the child. "No one likes hitting the decks on a 7-year-old. You're very brave to get up there at 7 years old," Stern told him. "I've met many great rappers. I'm on the radio. I interview them. None of them are quite as good as you." After the audition was over, Stern was emotionally distraught. He even began to rethink his decision to join the judges' table in the first place. "I'm not cut out for this. I'm shaking. I can't do it," he said. "Radio is for me. I made a mistake, this isn't for me." Stern seemed more comfortable with his honesty, however, when discussing the moment with Jimmy Fallon. Jim Carrey admitted to Howard Stern there was an SNL skit he didn't want to do. Jim Carrey revealed to Howard Stern that he wasn't too keen on parodying this famous pop star on Saturday Night Live. Stern said the experience made him feel so evil. Stern ultimately voted yes to send Mere Money to the next round, but was outnumbered by his fellow judges. "I totally caved," Stern told Fallon. This moment on America's Got Talent is just one time the public got to see a glimpse at the softer side of Howard Stern. According to the radio host, he has done a lot of work on himself to accept this softer side. In 2019, Stern was interviewed on CBS Sunday Morning. During the discussion, he spoke about his past interviews. Stern said that watching old clips of himself made him cringe. "I was telling somebody the other day, because now that I'm promoting the book I'm going out and doing late-night shows," he began. "And I don't like being interviewed, I don't like going on late-night shows. For somebody who interviews, I don't like it. And because of the book, and I'm excited about it, I decided to do all of this press. So in looking at my life, all of a sudden it's a big retrospective, it's very difficult and painful. And going back and looking at old shows is difficult." Stern continued, "I was looking at an appearance I did on Letterman, and I was cringing. It was just, my presentation was different. It's like a different guy to me. And if I've done anything in my career, I've evolved all along the way. I don't feel I ever stayed the same." Stern said part of the reason his show evolved was his move to SiriusXM. "The show has evolved," he said. "This is a completely different show than the show I did even 10 years ago. And that became about because of SiriusXM and the move here, which was the smartest thing I ever did, getting away from government interference." When promoting his book, Howard Stern Comes Again, on ABC News, Stern talked with George Stephanopoulos about his career and journey. Stern said that his journey to self-improvement began following his divorce in 2001. He said that he was scared during that time, especially when it came to his daughters. "My daughters are the most important thing in the world to me. How do I, as a man, have a relationship with my daughters, if my wife is no longer there to facilitate that?" Stern said. "How am I going to have a successful relationship with any woman or man, for that matter, if I don't know what's up and what's down?" According to Stern, one of the most surprising things about therapy was how it taught him to be a man. "I didn't have any lessons," he admitted. "I didn't really have that level of communication with my own father. While Stern is known for talking and listening to his guests on the radio, he said therapy was the first time he felt listened to. The first session I went in, I'm sitting there, and I'm telling him stories about my parents, Stern said, adding that he didn't think therapy was something he needed at first. I have it all together, Stern joked. And I'm doing some of the best radio routines I've ever done. I'm doing impressions of my mother. I'm doing impressions of my father. Stern said the therapist saw through his act, however, and attempted to break down the barrier. He turned to me, and he goes, "None of this is funny," he added. He goes, "Why don't you get real with me? Some of what you're telling me sounds very sad. And yet, you're laughing at it." Howard Stern was left confused by a certain gesture put forward by Yoko Ono. "No one had ever said that to me, and I had never had a real conversation like that before," he reflected. And as the years went by, I got more and more turned on by being listened to. Stern also said this mindset has helped improve his skills on the radio as well. I said, "What would it be like to really hear what someone has to say?" He said. And it has led to some incredible conversation. In 1998, Carey attended the Blockbuster Entertainment Awards. Another celebrity who was in attendance was Howard Stern. Stern was also recording an episode of his radio show while cameras documented it for the E! Channel. Carey was a guest on the show that night, much to the dismay of her publicist. To start things off, Carey asked what kind of camera angles they would be getting. "Right up your dress," Stern quipped. Carey seemed aware of the environment she got herself into, however. "I'm not sure about what's going on, and you guys can be a little bit lewd sometimes," she said. Stern took that as an invitation to get more lewd, asking, "Why didn't you flash me on stage?" Carey maintained that she was an innocent girl and continued to ask Stern not to be lewd. Stern eventually moved on to other topics, like her mixed-race background. Carey then called Stern out on past comments he made where he said he didn't believe she was mixed-race. Stern, however, said he knew her father was black. The interview ended with Carey inviting Stern to come talk with her after the show. No word on whether any such conversation took place. The peace wouldn't last, however, as in 2001, Carey called out Stern for mocking her weight. Things seemed grim for Carey and Stern until 2012 when Stern crossed paths with Carey's then-husband Nick Cannon. Cannon and Stern both worked together on America's Got Talent. Cannon later revealed he took Carey to Stern's house, where the radio host apologized to her. The following year, Carey and Cannon revealed Stern bought them gifts, with Carey saying Stern was very nice. Another celebrity Stern apologized to was Kathie Lee Gifford. Stern had often talked badly about Gifford for years. However, Gifford shared a story about how she mended things with Stern during a 2018 episode of The Today Show. "Howard Stern had a feud with me going on 30 years. I never met him. I never listened to his show. He hated my guts for 30 years. Hated my husband, hated my children. Hated everything I stood for," Gifford said. However, Gifford would have a chance to speak with Stern during an episode of America's Got Talent. "And one day, right here, I was up in the makeup room and all of a sudden he's here to announce America's Got Talent. I just feel the Lord saying very clearly to me, go down and say hello to Howard," she remembered. "I'm standing right here, he's 6 feet 6 inches and I'm 5 feet 5 inches with flat shoes and I go, Howard, I'm Kathie Lee. I thought it was time I say hello. I want to wish you the very best with your show." And I left. He was really flabbergasted. Kathie Lee Gifford's conduct during a segment of the Today Show didn't sit well with Howard Stern. Gifford then said that Stern reached out to her shortly after that first meeting. "There's a message from him, a voicemail. I was blown away and will you call me?" Gifford said.